In this module, we will be talking about the contingency table. Now students, what is a contingency table? It is actually defined as the table of rows versus columns. So whenever we have two variables of interest and we are going to relate them, whether we are going to identify the relationship between the two variables or we are going to find out the differences among various probabilities. So for that very purposes, we are going to develop the contingency table. In this module, students, we would be talking about 2x2 contingency table. By that, we mean that there are two rows and two columns in that table. So students, whenever we talk about the contingency table, that means we are usually talking about categorical data. By categorical data, we mean that the data is qualitative in nature. So whenever we talk about a qualitative data, it may be taken as nominal, it may be measured as being nominal or ordinal. So students, nominal data is that type of data where the categories are being named. And for example, if we are talking about gender variable, then gender has two categories. One is the male and other is the female. So in order to analyze the data or variable, we have named the categories. As far as the ordinal scale of measurement for the qualitative data is concerned, ordinal scale, my students, we have arranged the categories in a certain order from smallest to largest or from largest to smallest. For example, if we are talking about the class performance, then class performance may be categorized as below average, it might be average, it may be above average. So as you can observe that there is a natural order in the data. So this type of categorical data is known as ordinal in nature. So usually students, why we are going to use a contingency table? The primary objectives are that we are going to test the hypothesis about the comparison between various groups, and we might be interested in testing the hypothesis about the relationship between the two variables. Now students, in a contingency table, we need to determine the dependent and the independent variable. For example, if we are talking about the class performance, so there are various kind of variables on which your class performance is dependent. For example, if we are talking about midterm exams, if we are talking about final term exams for the assessment purpose, if they are being taken, so we cannot determine the academic class performance if we are not given with the midterm or the final term exams, because they are the core component of that kind of assessment. So we need to determine, so which one of them is dependent, whereas the other one is independent. So class performance, students, it is dependent on the midterm and final term exam score. So under the contingency table, students, we would be talking about frequencies or counts and percentages. So this is a display of 2x2 contingency table. Students, as you can observe, there are two types of variables. One is A and other is B. And further, these two variables are being categorized. B as having two categories, category 1 and 2, and same with the A with two categories 1 and 2. That is why we call it as 2x2 contingency table. And students, this A, B, C and D, these are the counts we have for various categories. They are also known as the observed frequencies. The first thing, when we got the contingency table, students, so पहला काम जो हमें करना होता है, हमें इन कैटेगरीज के रो टोटल और कॉलम टोटल चाहिए होते हैं. वो हमें क्यों चाहिए होते हैं? Because we are given with the observed frequencies and we are going to calculate the expected frequencies on the basis of these marginal totals, the row totals and the column totals. So students, A plus B को add करके मैंने यहाँ लिखा है, then C plus D, summing of the columns, A plus C, then B plus D, and the grand total is being taken as A plus B plus C plus D, where A, B, C, D are the observed frequencies, and using these frequencies, the marginal totals, we are going to determine the expected frequencies. Now students, कॉन्टिजेंसी टेबल में एक और इम्पॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट है, दैट इज अ कैलकुलेशन ऑफ डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम. सो डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम फॉर अ 2x2 टेबल इज टेकन एज 2 - 1 into 2 - 1. स्टूडेंट्स, ये कैसे हमने लिया? जब भी हम R क्रॉस C टेबल की बात करते हैं, कॉन्टिजेंसी टेबल की, वेयर R स्टैंड्स फॉर द रोज एंड C स्टैंड्स फॉर द कॉलम्स, तो उसकी जो डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम होती हैं फॉर द chi-square टेस्ट दैट वी आर गोइंग टू यूज लेटर फॉर अ कॉन्टिजेंसी टेबल. सो स्टूडेंट्स, उसकी जो डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम होती हैं chi-square टेबल की फॉर द कॉन्टिजेंसी टेबल ऑफ टाइप R cross C for any number of rows and columns, they are being determined as R minus 1 multiplied by C minus 1. Here you can observe that we were talking about a 2x2 contingency table. So the number of rows were 2, whereas the number of columns were also 2. So 2 - 1 into 2 - 1. So 1 degrees of freedom हमारे पास आ गई. Now students, how to calculate the expected frequencies from this very table? First of all, let me tell you that expected frequencies are occurred by the random chance if variables are independent of each other. How to calculate the expected frequency? The formula is written before you. Total number in row I multiplied by total number in column J divided by the grand total. So students, ये table है एक class performance versus gender का. Gender की दो categories हैं, male and female. Class performance को हमने दो categories में divide किया, success and failure. इनके सबसे पहले हमने totals, marginal totals find किए हैं, and further we'll be calculating the expected frequencies. So students, ये जो total है हमारे पास रो टोटल यानी 40 के लिए अगर हम एक्सपेक्टेड फ्रीक्वेंसी डिटरमिन करने जा रहे हैं, तो हम इसकी रो टोटल को अकॉर्डिंग टू द फॉर्मूला मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे विद द कॉलम टोटल और डिवाइड करेंगे विद 88. सो दैट इज गिविंग अस अ वैल्यू ऑफ 43.18. सिमिलरली 36 के लिए जब हमें एक्सपेक्टेड फ्रीक्वेंसी कैलकुलेट करनी है, तो इसका रो टोटल इज द सेम एज 76, लेकिन इसका कॉलम टोटल है 38. सो 76 multiplied by 38 divided by 88, that gives us the expected value for the category female who were successful in that exam. So students, this was the procedure about the contingency table of with the 2 rows and 2 columns. So we have learned in this module that how to calculate the expected frequencies from the observed frequencies table, so that we can use them later for various kind of testing of hypothesis procedures under the chi-square test.